Shalom, Chaverim, Bruchim Abayim. Thank you for joining us for the official release. I call it the official watch party release from Nisan to Nisan and your Pesach and your Seder. My name is Rabbi Itzhak Shapira, and I'm so glad you joined us for this broadcast. In a moment, we're going to invite the special guest to be here with us. But in case you're wondering what this broadcast is all about, it's quite simple. We, as an organization, a Messianic Jewish organization that seek to reconcile Messiah, Yeshua, to the entire house of Israel, have heard clearly from the Lord. And the word is simple. Get the nations during this Passover to celebrate and to observe the Pesach. Because of that, we took our work, not just mine, also of Rabbi Bernstein, and went into an amazing Haggadah called From Nisan to Nisan. This is a very, very special Haggadah, and today you can download it for free. Right now, you can download, including the Messianic commentary. Friends, Haggadah like that would cost a lot of money. But we made it available for free because we heard a prophetic word from God. If this is something you believe in, right now we're seeing hundreds and it's in the thousands of people who downloading the Haggadah from over 69 nations, including Muslim nations, as we speak. If you are moved by this and you understand what's happening in the world through the COVID virus, the plagues, the story of Nisan, what's happening in the world right now, you understand we are living in a prophetic time. And this, what we're doing now, is a prophetic action. It's an action that is based upon faith and faith alone to be able to bring you this Haggadah. If you are moved by this, friends, we put a lot of effort to it. We're asking you to support, to donate to this project. There is a link at the bottom of your screen, a ticket that will go. We quickly need to raise this, because this evening we are happy to announce right now as we speak that we not just finished the English and the Spanish, but the Italian. Just in any moment now, if you go to this website, pesach.shuvu.tv. I want everybody to make a note for this note. Pesach.shuvu.tv. You will not be able to only to get it in English and Spanish, but also in Italian. Your support is critical in this point. But you know what is even more critical than your support? It is you. It is your families. It is us together celebrating the Pesach. The Lord just gave me this word, and He said, to get as many from the nations today to celebrate the Pesach. And this evening I'm going to be joining with the co-commentator of the Haggadah, Rabbi Steven Bernstein, and with Pastor Matt McKeown from kosherpastor.com. They all also want to take you through this Haggadah. So what we're going to do today with you is we're going to walk you through the new Haggadah from Nisan to Nisan, and then we're going to give you some practical tips to make it easy for you, because this is a season that you need to do it prophetically. I believe that the fullness of the Gentiles is upon us right now. Then we will open the chat if you're on YouTube or Facebook. And guess what? We will let you ask us, two rabbis and a pastor, any question that you might have. The important thing is go and download. Let me show you what it's look like right now all over the world, so everybody can appreciate what is happening right now. This is a picture in real time that you are seeing right now. This is not real time. It's even 2 hours ago. The Haggadah from Nisan to Nisan is downloaded all over the world. There's only one state it's not been downloaded in United States. And guess what? Today, right now, it's launching in Italian. Tomorrow, it is launching in Dutch. and the next day it is going to be launching in German. So we're talking about 3 more languages. We took upon ourselves the greatest endeavor. And I want to tell you something. There are people right now who are working around the clock, even as we're speaking to you right this moment, around this clock to make sure that this Haggadah is ready for the entire world to be able to use at least 5 languages. So this is significant. If you're moved by this prophetic thing that is happening right now, go to this website, fundly.com, Operation Geula. We have not raised enough money at this point to be able to sustain the work ahead. And we are asking today for generous, whatever the Lord laid upon your heart. This is a move of God that is happening. This is a gift of our greatest treasure that we're giving away freely to you. And we need you today to partner and support with us. We will answer all your questions, but I would like right now to introduce to this broadcast with me. In 1 second, I'm going to bring them in. Here they are. I'm going to unmute them. And I'm going to say, first of all, shalom to Rabbi Steven Bernstein and to Pastor Matt McKeown. Erev Tov, Chaverim, how are you doing?
Terrific. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Rabbi Bernstein, I'm going to start with you. We asked this question in Passover, Manishtana. How is this night different? I sense in my heart that this Passover is a very, very different than any Passover, maybe since the Passover that we celebrate in the residences with Moshe Rabbeinu. I want you to give you a few moments just to share with us. You have been working on this in the early stages of this Haggadah, and you put the initial commentary. What the Lord's steering right now upon your heart as you see everything that is happening. Take us through some of your thoughts right now. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.
This is a very, very fascinating situation that we're in, being forcibly separated at this time. This is a time normally where it's the opposite. Normally, this is a time that we come together, that we gather. And this year we're not able to because of the disease, because of the plague. So it really appears to be very symbolic of the Geulah. And we know that the exile will be ending. The Geulah will occur. It's coming, right? Just like the COVID virus will be defeated and it will end. And then we will be able to come back together. It's coming. We know that it's coming. It's just a matter of when. So the entire feeling of anticipation is heightened just because of our circumstances today. And so now we can look at this and say, you know what? The ending of the dispersion because of the disease is coming. The ending of the dispersion because of the exile is coming. And the Messiah is coming. And all of the anticipation is building up to this particular Pesach.
Let me ask you, we're talking about anticipation, Rav Bernstein. Do you sense, as I sense, that this COVID-19 virus is a tool to perhaps expedite the Geulah? We look at the gloom and doom right now, but I am seeing a lot of things that make me feel that the fullness, look what is happening right now. Thousands of people are celebrating Pesach all over. This is a way God perhaps not just punishing the world, but perhaps bringing an act of mercy that is going to coming very, very soon? How do you view that?
What I think is that Hashem is definitely using the COVID virus, but the way that Hashem is using this is as a spur to get us to do tshuva. It's to get us to see the Pesach and to turn to God. It's our turning to God that is bringing the Geulah, right? And so the COVID virus is something Hashem It's in the system now, and we are taking advantage of it by turning to God. That's why you're here. It's why you're listening to me.
You know, you started this project as a project for our yeshiva, and it's amazing. We started a long time ago. This Haggadah from Nisan to Nisan. You had no idea how God would use this project now globally. But you know what? I really believe that it was the Ruach HaKodesh that lay upon your life and spoke to you about from Nisan to Nisan. Pastor McKeown, I want to turn to you. You are a Christian pastor who practiced Messianic Judaism. You are clearly outside the norm of that, but in many ways you are a typical Christian pastor. People should know that. In some way, that's not the case. How do you view what is happening right now on a prophetic lens? Oh, hold on. Let me unmute you. Go ahead, Pastor Matt. I'm sorry.
Rabbi Shapira, I think just to dovetail with what Rabbi Bernstein was saying, it is eerie to me, the similarities between what's going on right now and the first Pesach, the first Passover. What concerns me the most, and Rabbi Bernstein and I are both in the state of Florida, and we all saw the shocking videos a few weeks ago of the spring breakers that were refusing to leave the beaches and refusing to separate and social distance and all that kind of stuff. It is eerily similar to me of the people that did not heed the warning to go in their homes, to put the blood of the lamb on their doorposts. It is so discouraging to me, especially to see my people, to see Christian people, people from a Christian background, to not heed the warnings that we've had from our leaders. It has been so disappointing to me to see Christian pastors continuing to meet and be defiant. And in my humble opinion, I think they're going to have to answer on Judgment Day, because I think, unfortunately, some of these pastors that didn't want to believe the leadership and science, they were continuing to meet, and I'm afraid people are going to lose their lives because they continued to meet. And I think there's blood on their hands. I know that's a strong thing to say, Rabbi, but I really believe that. It has been so disappointing to me. It makes us look foolish, those of us that come from the church world, that act like that something like this can't happen. And I actually saw one
Pastor McKeown, I want to ask you about this. You're in the church world. Is anybody connecting what is happening now to Pesach and the plagues? Is this even talked about in the churches?
I know it is in our church. I've been talking about it for a few weeks now. And there are people that are calling me and emailing me, messaging me on social media and saying, does this play into the last days? I've had one person ask me directly, is this the beginnings of the cup of wrath that God is going to pour out on the world? Is this tied into Passover? I think it absolutely is. I mean, my goodness, it's a plague. It's absolutely a plague. And then when you look around and you see different things that are happening in the world, whether it's earthquakes or this giant swarm of locusts in Africa, I really think this is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for us to, as Rabbi Bernstein said, to make tshuva, to repent. This is a time where people need to turn to God. It's been so heartbreaking to see. I saw a tragic story of a bus driver in New York that was worried. He did a Facebook video where he put the camera on himself and he said, listen, I'm a bus driver. People are coughing on my bus and they're not covering their mouths. And I'm nervous. And he lost his life. He was a young guy, younger than me, and has died because of this virus. I really think that God can use this as a way to say, listen, we're not promised tomorrow. We've got to take the proper precautions, just like the people had to put the blood on their door. We've got to take the proper precautions. And I think this is a season. My goodness, with all of us having to shut our services, I know you've been doing virtual synagogue. I saw that Rabbi Steve was live streaming for his synagogue. Our church and our synagogue that I'm involved with have been live streaming. Look at the way that the gospel is going out in ways like never before because of this virus. It's so interesting.
Okay, one last thought I have for you. How critical in your mind right now, you've been a huge supporter of this initiative for the Gentiles to celebrate Pesach right now. In your mind, in your heart, how critical is to get right now the word to the nations?
I think it's absolutely critical. I think it's paramount for Christians to understand the Passover, because a lot of Christians just have zero clue, Rabbi. I didn't when I was growing up, but we don't realize that the center of Christianity, and I would say, I think the central piece of the Christian worship service is what Christians call Holy Communion. And that comes from what Christians call the Last Supper, which was a teaching Seder. If we don't understand Passover, then we don't understand what Yeshua, Jesus, said and what he meant when he said, "This is my body, this is my blood." We don't get it unless we understand the background. It is so critical. And as you know, Rabbi, in the Bible, it talks about the fullness of the Gentiles in the last days. And it is not a fullness of numbers. It's a fullness of understanding. And when Christians get turned on to this amazing Jewish foundation of their Christian faith, they have a zeal for God that they've never had before.
Amen.
And it is igniting
that is the fullness of the Gentiles. That is the fullness of the Gentiles. So let me ask you a question. As a Christian pastor, you celebrated Passover for many, many years, correct?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to truly and honestly open the new Haggadah?
Rabbi, I spent all afternoon, I'm talking hours, going through it. I not only, and it's amazing that both of you, my rabbis, have put this out for free. People need to donate to this project. It is, I don't think I'm overstating.
I don't realize what we did.
I don't think I'm overstating this. It is a masterpiece. I literally read every page of it. There's over 100 pages in this thing. It's amazing. You can view it on your tablet or on your computer, on your phone. 109 pages. I actually went to the effort and expense of printing it out so that I could have a hard copy of it. It is absolutely stunning what has been done. And the commentary is absolutely amazing. It's unprecedented Messianic commentary that absolutely shows how the Messiah is all through every aspect of the Passover experience.
And I must state through Judaism.
Yes, yeah. Through traditional Jewish sources. It's not like that we're showing that the Messiah is all through this through Christian sources. Through every Jew in the world that does the Passover, they just don't know that the Messiah is all through this. But he absolutely is. It's not like this is some sort of Christian thing or Messianic thing. This is the same guidelines, the same liturgy, the same thing that every Jew goes through. It's just that the commentary that is brought in, you realize how Messianic it is. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Look, friend, this is not some sort of a marketing gimmick. I want everybody to understand. God spoke to us. If it's a marketing gimmick, I would put it for sale and we would have made a lot more money because people know who we are. This is about what the Lord revealed to us. The nations need to return. Rabbi Bernstein, isn't it true that when we read prophecies, even we talk about wrath and gloom and doom, those prophecies do not have to be fulfilled? We see many examples of that in the Bible. And that's where I want the people to understand. This is a tipping point right now. We're on the balance. And I believe that the remnant can tip the balance again to the season of mercy, for time of mercy, to the sweetening of Takata Dinim, so that the Dinim in the coming Mashiach will not be as painful. Is that true, Rabbi Bernstein, that even when we read prophecies that are negative, God can defer them or God can even cancel them? What would you say about that?
Oh, it's absolutely true. one of the most important themes throughout all of Scripture is that really all of this is up to us.
Exactly.
It's not about God putting his hands in and manipulating everything and everybody, and it just works, and we have no responsibility. It's the opposite. It's that the responsibility is all ours, right? And we knew this. Shimon Kifa, Peter, one of the great rabbis, recognized in Judaism as a great rabbi all the way through the Middle Ages, was very, very specific about this.
Second Peter, right?
In his second letter, right, chapter 3, I think it's verses 11 and 12.
Right.
That our behavior, if we lead lives that are separated for God, that are holy, that are godly lives, we hasten the coming of the Messiah.
Yes.
And this is a moment, this is a time where we can actually put this into practice. Do it. Just do it. Come. You're listening to us. Pesach is coming. Do a Seder. If you've never done a Seder before, do a Seder. Here's an opportunity. That's why Rav Shapira shared this Haggadah for free. Download it. Go through. There's very specific instructions. It's not hard. It's a thing of joy. It's a celebration of God and Messiah.
and I would say it's also a way for the people to really join themselves to the people of Israel. And in that, they fulfill their calling to become grafted in and be full of that.
That's it. You're grafted into Israel. What does this mean? It means celebrate Pesach. You know, the word Easter, the holiday Easter, it's only called Easter in English. Do you know what it's called in Latin? Pascha.
Right.
Pesach. You know what it's called in Spanish? The same. You know what it's called in Italian? The same. It's all about Pesach. It's been changed through the years, so it's time to come back. Shuv, Shuv l'Adonai.
Exactly. Look, Rabbi Bernstein, people don't know it, but you have been at Yeshivat Shubu for the very, very beginning. And here we are standing many years later now, 6-7 years later. And it seems to me that everything that was done was to prepare us to this day, to see thousands and thousands of Gentiles are ready for their fullness. Pastor McKeown, is the Gentiles ready for the fullness? Are they getting ready right now?
I believe so, Rabbi. It's absolutely exciting to me. And, you know, you and I were in Israel with the head writers of the TV show The Chosen. And there are so many people on the Chosen fan page that are starting to get curious about the Jewish background of the Christian faith. They're awakening to this richness that they never knew was there. And it's so exciting to me that when Dallas Jenkins, the creator and the director of The Chosen, will tag me in a comment and say, hey, you know, tell them about a Messianic translation of the Bible or this or that. In fact, I shared this video, this live stream on the Chosen fan page. People are waking up. We see pastors of major mainline denominations doing teachings on the feasts and fasts of Israel, on the Talit, on different parts of Messianic Jewish expression. The world is waking up to this. It really, truly is the beginnings of the fullness of the Gentiles. I believe that with all my heart.
I do too. I do too. And I want to make this point for everybody. We are here and we're not in the business of bashing Christians. We have with us a Christian pastor. This is the greatest calling that I believe we, myself, Rabbi Bernstein, have as Messianic Jews, to call the Goyim. Because it is the Goyim, at the end of the day, who sold Yosef. And it is the Goyim who will return Yosef.
And Rabbi, if I may be so bold, it is your job as Jews. Here we have two observant Jewish men and rabbis that did not grow up with anything Christian. You guys grew up in Judaism. And here you have taught people like me, a Christian pastor, how to do these things. So that was your job, but now it's my job to do this in a correct way to provoke your people to jealousy and zeal. We need each other.
Isn't that amazing? You're absolutely right. So tonight, I think a lot of people need us to tell them about the Seder and so forth. And a lot of people write on the chat and say, that's great, I've been celebrating Seder, Passover. I say, Baruch Hashem. The question, have you done it as the way the entire house of Israel have done it? The beautiful thing about the Haggadah that was put in front of you from Nisan to Nisan, it's halachically 100% correct. There's nothing weird about this. Okay? The beauty is that we brought a custom and traditions that I haven't done as a child and never understood, that they are pointing to Yeshua. So it is like doing Seder on a steroids. That's what I would call it. Doing a Passover Seder in a steroid. And you point to it, Matt, the commentary. How do you see it in Karpas? The Mashiach, how do you see in all of the and people think about that this is just about Israel leaving Egypt. No, it's about the new heaven and the new earth. The entire story of the Haggadah is about God recreating the future Nisan, the future Geula, and us taking the step, walking into the garden again. And that's why I feel that using the from Nisan to Nisan, listen, we're not getting royalties of this, but I am telling you, I am disappointed from most of the Messianic Haggadahs there. They did a disservice to understanding the beauty of Judaism and the beauty of seeing Yeshua in all of those things. You know, we look at the Matzah and say, the Matzah represents Yeshua. He was pierced for our transgression, for example. Well, there is a lot more in this. And that's what we brought forward. And I love what Rabbi Bernstein did. He also brought a lot of the historic commentary to those things. So we want to talk about it. So first of all, I think I want to start in the beginning. How difficult it is to celebrate Pesach. A lot of people know what this is. This is a Seder plate. Rabbi Bernstein, you have yours, you have yours. Is it necessary to have a Seder plate to celebrate the Passover Seder?
And so, like a good rabbi, I'll tell you, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, it's important to have a Seder plate, but it can be a paper plate. It doesn't have to be anything special.
Okay? There you go. So,
so it's nice to have something beautiful to celebrate the festival of Hashem. But if what you have is a paper plate, then that's fine.
You go with a paper plate. I love it. I love it. Friends, we are actually going to screen share for a minute with you the Haggadah. Again, I want to remind you, you can download it now. Your donation tonight are critical. This is critical. Italy, in a few minutes, you will be able to go after Italy in just a few minutes. It will be up in this website, pesach.shuvu.tv. I hope everybody can see right now on their screen the Haggadah. Rabbi Bernstein, I decided to call it from Nisan to Nisan. So we have this concept in Judaism that we see in Tractate Rosh Hashanah, that the future Geulah will resemble the first Geulah. How important it is to look carefully at the story of Nisan and to think of in the story of Nisan about the future Geulah as a blueprint. How critical this is.
We've got several New Years in Judaism. This is an odd concept for a lot of people in the West. But we don't just have one New Year. We've actually got 4 New Years. One of the New Years is the New Year of months, and that is Nisan. It's not Toyota, it's Nisan. And Nisan, being the beginning of months, is the beginning of the cycle of the seasons. And the cycle of the seasons really reflects the cycle of history. It is a small picture of everything that is happening historically. So Nisan, in the beginning of the cycle of seasons, is the same as the Nisan of the Geulah, of the return of Israel. The parallel is unquestionable.
So when Micah 7 speak about the future Geulah resembling the Exodus Geulah in Micah 7:15, how much in this story here we can apply for us today?
We are part of the journey. We can't say, we can't look at it and say, well, this is what happened to them and this will happen to them in the future. No, we're part of the narrative. We're part of the march of history. The things that we do, the behavior that we have, the Pesach that we celebrate this year is part of the great story.
So I love what you're saying. You know, the first chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Kook, the Ashkenazi chief rabbi, said it this way, said that when we look at the Geulah, we cannot separate it and say this is where it started and this was the end. A Geulah is a continuous thing. So maybe perhaps when we say from Nisan to Nisan, we are now turning the page. That's the way we should look at that. It's the same book, the same redemption, but we are turning the page now with the nations who have grafted in. Pastor Matt, in the story of the first Geulah, we read about the nations who have left Egypt, a remnant of them left behind. How significant is this for you and for the nations to leave Egypt today behind and come on in?
Well, history is repeating itself. You know, there's one thing about this that makes me very happy, and there's another thing about this that makes me very sad. It is interesting how the God of Israel allowed non-Jews, non-Israelites to leave and be part of the Exodus. They're known in Scripture as the mixed multitude. They were able to come out. And then after a certain point, the mixed multitude isn't mentioned anymore in the Bible, and it's because they became fully a part of Israel. And so God allowed them, they saw the amazing signs and wonders that the God of Israel did, and they said, we want to go with these people. And so they did. But that's what makes me happy, Rabbi. But what makes me sad is that tradition tells us that only 1/5, 20% of the Jews left in the Exodus. Mm-hmm. So many people willingly were left behind. They chose not to get on board. And I pray that doesn't repeat itself. I'm praying for a huge revival in the Jewish world, for them to see the Messiah in this Passover, and for maybe this COVID-19 and pandemic to make people repent, so there'll be souls added to the kingdom. It's exciting to me, but it's also, these are very desperate times. And so we need to be on the right side of the God of Israel.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned about being sad and being happy, but the story of Exodus also told us that the golden calf was instrumented by two that came out from the nations, those two magicians that are mentioned by Jewish tradition. You know that?
Yeah, they're mentioned in the New Testament as in English as Jannes and Jambres. Yeah, they're mentioned in the New Testament, and Christians don't understand who they are. But yeah, these are two magicians that came out. And listen, from the Gentile world to both of you rabbis, I would just like to publicly apologize for that whole golden calf thing.
I want to tell you though something about that. The Gentiles have to seek their motivation for coming out today. You are not coming out just to receive the blessings of Israel.
Right.
You're coming out for the salvation of Israel. So you will be partaker of the salvation of Israel. And this is
and Rabbi, I think it's very interesting.
Celebrate the Pesach if you don't really want to take upon yourself a Jewish identity. This is the time that the nations need to take a Jewish identity. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm just reminded as we're talking here, Rabbi, that, I mean, you know, the scripture says, and it was prophesied, but the scripture says when the people came out of Egypt, that the Egyptians gave them gold and silver and treasures and all this stuff. Where do you think they got all the materials for the tabernacle and for the golden calf and whatever? The Egyptians were giving them gifts as they left. But Chazal, the sages of blessed memory in Judaism, there's an opinion that says that it's not just that the Egyptians were giving them gifts, they were giving back possessions that they had taken from them. So something that the Egyptians had that belonged to the Jewish people, treasure, was given back to them. And look at this, in the last days, where the Messiah has been in Christianity for 2,000 years. Now we are giving back the treasure of the Messiah to Israel as people make the Exodus.
Isn't that amazing?
Right.
The parallel.
Out of Edom.
Right. What an amazing parallel. Friends, before we continue, we have a breaking news. We bring into the broadcast one of our own. Jackson, shalom.
Shalom, Rabbi. Shalom, Pastor Matt.
I understand you're bringing some good news to everybody watching right now.
Yes, officially the Italian Haggadah is available to download at pesach.chuvu.tv. This has taken the better part of Motzei Shabbat as well as today, and we're happy to be able to announce it at this moment. Italy has been one of the hardest hit of all the countries in the world to the virus, and so we're blessed to be able to give this as a gift to all of our Italian students as well as the whole country.
Can you talk to us for a minute? Just, I want people to understand what kind of level of complexity it took to get this is the second language now. What did it took to actually get this moving?
Yeah, the third language. So we started with English, Spanish, and then Italian. This has been a groundbreaking project, and never has anyone tried to do this before, but we released 5 languages at one time. Usually you make a publication, you start with English and Hebrew, and then next year you add another language. But this is a testament to the yeshiva and a testament to all of the laborers. We did it in great haste, just like it says in the Pesach. Really. A haste that is just really almost insane. But I would like to thank all of our translators. It's amazing people that have worked day and night for this to be able to bring it to you.
Some of them are watching now. You know, Yolanta from Italy is on the broadcast right now.
Oh, Yolanta.
This is going to be amazing for the Italians. So I just want to show everybody how to get to it. If you see my screen and you're in pesach.chuvu.tv, friends, if you scroll to the bottom, the Italian is ready. The Italian is ready. If you click on the Italiano, you will be able to right away go and register and get it in Italian. What an amazing, just absolutely incredible achievement, Jackson. Thank you for jumping in. So what is next and when people should expect it?
Next, we are working on the Dutch, and it will be available around this time tomorrow.
Praise be to God. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you, rabbis, for all of your time that you've poured into us with this. And it is a life-changing publication. Read the commentary. It'll stay with you forever.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you, Jackson. We will see you. Litrot.
Litrot.
So, Chaverim, we are back to our discussion here, and we are about to really dive into the Haggadah in just a second. I want everybody to understand this is moving now globally. People are going to, when it says, and in that day the Lord will be one and his name is one, we are seeing the beginning of that, the sanctification, the name of God. Rabbi Bernstein, if you tell people one thing that they need to know before the Pesach this year to take into this Seder experience, what would it be?
Well, one thing.
One thing in a practicality.
If this is the first time that you've ever done a Seder, and you're doing it now because there isn't a community Seder, the first thing to know is that this is what a Seder should be. A Seder should be something done in a home.
For sure.
Okay. But the one thing that you should understand is that you're looking into history both backwards and forwards.
Uh-huh.
Understand, this is something Yeshua did every year of his life.
Wow.
This is something Paul did every year of his life. It's something Peter did every year of his life. Something John did every year of his life. This is a glimpse into how they understand God and Israel. Take it to heart.
Wow. What an amazing advice. Just the way you put it is powerful. Pastor McKeown, the same question to you. One thing that you would want people to take take in as they're preparing for the Seder this year, from Nisan to Nisan? What would you say?
Well, the centrality of Christianity is the cross. It's even the symbol of Christianity. It's always been interesting to me that Christians don't wear empty tombs around their necks, but rather they wear crosses. The cross is the centrality. It's the symbol. It's the brand, if you will, of Christianity. And this Passover, it absolutely 100% is pointing to the cross. It is pointing to the execution of the Messiah. And if you don't mind, Rabbi, can I just brag on you both a little bit by reading a portion from the Haggadah? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Fine. Okay,
so this is what blew my mind. And I've studied under both of you for more than 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not a newbie to this Passover thing. But I discovered in your commentary something so mind-blowing that I literally took a picture of the Haggadah with my phone and sent it to all my extended family. And this is what I want to share to all the Christians watching. This is why you need to pay attention to this.
Wow.
Because it all points to the death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah. Listen to this. So the word for vinegar, we all know that Yeshua, Jesus, was given vinegar on the cross. And the word for vinegar is chametz. Am I pronouncing that correct, Rabbi?
Yes, yes.
Chametz. The Messiah, he willingly drank it. Chametz. Now, the first thing you do to prepare for Passover is to get all of the leaven, all of the yeast out of your house. And it's tradition to go around with a candle and you look everywhere. I mean, if there's a Cheerio under your counter that's been there for a couple of years, you need to get rid of it. Now, technically, I guess it shouldn't have been there from last Passover when you cleaned out. But anyway, we get rid of the yeast, of the leaven. And the Apostle Paul mentions this when he says, let's get rid of the old yeast. For Christ, Yeshua, the Messiah, has been sacrificed, our Passover lamb. So we get rid of the leaven. What's the word for leaven? Chametz. Related to the chametz of the vinegar that he was given on the cross. But it goes more, because leaven is a symbol of sin in this case. It puffs up, it decays, it's related to death, it's related to pride. And so we need to get rid of the yeast. Now, what's interesting to me, what really blew my mind this afternoon more than anything in the Haggadah, what blew my mind was, while all of the nation is getting rid of the chametz, the yeast, the leaven, something that symbolizes sin, while the whole nation is getting rid of that as they prepare for Passover, Yeshua on the cross is willingly taking in the chametz, the vinegar, the thing that represents sin that everybody is getting rid of at Passover. Yeshua is taking upon himself on the cross.
And that's why
blew my mind.
That's why in 1 Corinthians that he became sin.
Yes, he who knew no sin.
He became the chametz.
Yes, but it goes even further, because you rabbis pointed out this that I never knew before, that in Isaiah 63:1, it says, who is this coming out of Edom in crimson garments? Who is this in majestic attire? And the word for majestic attire, chamutz. What's so interesting is Hebrew is a language of 22 consonants. The vowels are implied. So all these words are so related. They're almost identical. Chametz, the vinegar that he took on the cross. Chametz, the leaven that you're supposed to get rid of. Exactly. And then the chamutz, the splendorous attire, the majestic attire. And then it hit me. It hit me that this majestic attire that he's going to be wearing when he returns, it hit me right between the eyes that a satanic perversion of this scripture in Isaiah 63:1 was done by the Romans. Because what did they do when they mocked him? They put him in majestic attire. They put a purple robe on him and gave him a scepter and put a mock crown on his head made of thorns. All of this is tied together with the Passover, getting rid of the yeast, the vinegar that he took upon himself, the royal attire. Christians, wake up. This is so amazing. It's been here. We have had this for 3,500 years. But it's been lost to us because we have lost our Jewish roots and our Jewish foundation because of 2,000 years of church anti-Semitism. Come back to the roots.
Come back.
Come back home.
That's it. And this is the heart of this amazing project. Praise be to God. Now you brought an important. So throughout the Haggadah, you're going to read tons of commentary like this. And it's interesting because the Haggadah itself is a commentary. Rabbi so-and-so said this and Rabbi so-and-so said that. And then you're going to have Rabbi Bernstein said this and Rabbi Shapira said this. So we continue to bring this, but we do it from a Messianic, very Messianic perspective and rabbinic perspective as well. So it's a treasure. And by the way, next year when we will publish it to our book form, we will even add more because that just was a drop in the bucket of how much we have to say on this topic. This is a good point, though, now to talk about, since you brought the Chametz and the Chamutz. People, toughest question, probably right now, what do I do with all the Chametz? COVID-19 perhaps get me on a locked position. I am stuck in the house. What do I do? Do the Passover, as a matter of fact, let me bring it in the Haggadah for everybody's benefit. And by the way, this Haggadah, I want to read one line from this. This publication, the spirit of Pesach, as it represents many workers who labor together to bring us all together into the Seder table. I dedicate this project to the Talmidim of Yeshivat Shuvu International who labored in great haste to make it available to the world. I take the money one of Israel for each one and every one of them. This project is a labor of love, so please consider supporting this global effort by visiting us at shuvapelpesach.tv. May we see you all soon in Yerushalayim. I must say this is really capturing the heart of this project. So Rabbi Bernstein, when we started, this is really, I call it the pre-Seder step. We do this Bdikat Chametz and we do this thing called Biur Chametz. And then we read this funny Arabic prayer called Chamira vechami'ah, which is, talking about all the leaven, even the little one. I'm always thinking about the poor word of Rav Shaul. The little of leaven can spoil the entire batch. So we're supposed to burn it. What do we do about it this year? How should we look at that? How should we handle it, Rav Bernstein? What would you say?
The language in Torah is perfect. And it requires interpretation, as a lot of language in Torah does. If we're going to remove all of the chametz, all of the leaven from our house, what does that mean? What if you don't own a house? What if the house isn't yours that you're living in? Does that mean you don't have to do anything? Right? Does removing it from where you normally keep it, like in the kitchen, is that enough? Do you have to go around to every room in the house and everything? So what does it really mean? And so the sages discussed this, and they determined that the actual meaning behind removing leaven from your house is to get it out of your possession. That's what removing it from your house means. So if the chametz is out of your possession, it's no longer in your house. Okay? So the house is more metaphorical. The real idea was getting chametz out of your possession.
So what does it mean to us today? What would you propose? Because this is one of the number one questions that people are asking us. What should they do? Should they burn it? Should they burn it? Should they? Obviously, we cannot go and sell it or stuff like that. What would you propose to a typical family who want to do things properly under the circumstances to do?
So you just want it out of your possession. So get all of your chametz together, and you can go to a basement closet. If you're in Florida, you don't have a basement closet. That's called a swimming pool. But if you've got a basement closet or a place in the garage, and you put all of the chametz there, then they're out of your possession.
Exactly.
It's out of your possession, and that would count halachically.
Now, would you still do symbolically biur chametz? What would you?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, and
so what you do, and this is a wonderful time for children, And in my view, this is where the Easter egg hunts came from. The evening of,
That's cool.
the evening before, you, as the parent in the house, you put a few breadcrumbs here and a few breadcrumbs there. Remember where you put the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, remember.
And then you go around and you have the children search the whole house to find the breadcrumbs, and you gather the breadcrumbs. It tells you how to do this in the Haggadah, and you prepare them for burning in the morning.
That's it. Let the kids.
And the kids will go crazy. They'll have a lot of fun.
Go crazy. Let them find it. Friends, I'm going to make it very simple for you. I know everybody's stressed out by right now. Don't be stressed. There is something called pikuach nefesh. It is not worth you risking anything, even a slight risk, in order to do things in the most halachically correct way. Even I read today that in Bnei Brak, there is some regulation that passed by the rabbis that are unprecedented. So here's what we suggest to you. Do you still want to clean? Yes, you do. 100% you want to clean. Gather all your chametz and put it in a place that is not easy to get to. If you have a garage, put it in a garage. Okay? If you have an attic, put it in an attic. If you have none of the above, you can always give it to a neighbor, or something like that. Leave it outside the door and say to your neighbor, hey, take care of it, okay, or something like that.
So, Rabbi, this brings up a practical question. Because we're talking about pikuach nefesh, the preserving of life, especially during this unprecedented time of COVID-19, especially when people are worried about food supply and wasting food and stuff like this. This is just an honest question. If you do take, let's say you had a loaf of bread and you do take it out to your garage so that you don't have access to it for those days of Passover, if that bread is still okay at the end, is it okay to bring it back into your home and eat?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100% yes. No question about it.
Wonderful.
Yes, for sure. So friends, please don't stress out about the chametz. We gave you an easy way. Somebody gave us an angry face. You can be angry, but you know what, friends? Guess what? This is Judaism. This is the real spirit of Judaism.
Well, and Rabbi, I would almost bet that whoever gives the angry face did not grow up Jewish.
No,
because the Jews that I know are like Rabbi Bernstein's famous saying, do what you can. There's a grace in Judaism. Do what you can.
For sure.
And if this is your first time that you're actually doing it by yourself, don't try to do everything.
Just do the best you can.
It's all new. Do some things. Just search for some leaven. Maybe you don't clean everything out the way you will in the future, but you'll be doing something you haven't done in the past. That's good. That's what you should be doing. Don't try to swallow the whole cow. Just have a steak.
Amen. I love this. This is great. I want to talk for a moment about this because the Pesach have different names, of course, in descriptions. One of the names, it's called Chag HaMatzot. So one does need to have a matzahs to celebrate it. I'm going to talk about this for a moment because I realize a lot of you cannot get matzah. And again, if it is a question between having a matzah and risking your life going to get the COVID-19 maybe in the supermarket, I'm going to give you an easy way to do it, okay? The one rule you have to remember is 18. 18. Everybody have a phone. Download a little stopwatch application. The key to know is that you preheat the oven. Preheat the oven. And to make it go fast, have more than one person doing it. That's the key. So get husband and wife. Like this year, we have matzahs, but we're going to do for fun. Husband, wife, and Noach. We're going to do for fun. Now, here is what you have to do. From the moment the water touch the flour, you have 18 minutes to have it fully cooked. Come out of the oven. That's the rule. So you put the water. It's simple. You need 2 ingredients: water and flour. Water and flour. That's it. You knead it. We are going to put together a little recipe for you. Maybe Rabbi Ronnie can also do some stuff like my wife and give some practical things. It's like we have not had a practice doing it for over 3,000 years. So, it's been a while. But friends, practice it before. It's not rocket science. Rabbi Bernstein, there is a concept that we'd like to talk about called the matzah shmura. It's the magic matzah. So, right? So perhaps what people do with the matzah shmura, the word shomer come from the word preserve or set aside, like kept aside. It's a special matzah. Perhaps you make one matzah. If you decide to make one bigger one, like a super one, or you make it a circular one, or you have fun with this. It is fun. Make it fun, Rabbi Bernstein, what is a matzah shmura and how do we use it?
Matzah shmura, if you're Sephardi, and if you're Ashkenazi, it's shmura matzah, is matzah that has been guarded and strictly observed the entire process from the time it's planted as a seed in the wheat field until it comes out as a piece of matzah. Now, this stuff's expensive because the guarding and observing of all of the things that have to be done from the time that it becomes a stalk of wheat until that it actually becomes matzah at your table, this can be expensive. But you can get it. Now, it's too late for this year. But I actually ordered this on Amazon and had it delivered. And I did that last year, too. So you have to do it like Purim ends, the next day you order your shmura matzah. Okay.
People can make a special. Oh, here you go. You have you have the good stuff.
Yes. So this shmura matzah has been observed and guarded and protected all through the process. And it's round. It is not the square stuff. And it's a little coarser, and it's like somebody beat it with a rock. It's really amazing stuff. And because we like to use shmura matzah, we got a matzah cover that's round, so it fits the shmura matzah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay?
And
you don't have a matzah cover like this, paper napkin is fine.
And people should know that this is actually something biblical, because it says in Exodus 12, "Ushamartem et hamatzot." Shamartem et mitzvot. Shmira matzah, shmira mitzvah. You protect it. So here is what I present to people to do this year. If you cannot have a matzah shmura, not the end of the world. If you want to experiment with that, when you have the dough, make one circular one, a big one, and we will call it a matzah shmura. Now, I just saw the comments by Rabbi Steven Shapira. She says, I am posting a recipe from matzah. Gluten-free even. That's awesomeness. So friends, do not despair from those things, from those matzot. Everybody's freaking out about the matzot. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. At the very, very minimum, how many matzot you need on a table, Rav Steve?
You need 3 pieces. They can be small.
Yeah.
They can be small. If you make one matzah and break it into 3 pieces for the Seder, you're good to go.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Let's continue for a second. So we covered some of the early stages. We talked about the Dikat Chametz and the Biur Chametz, the burning of the Chametz, just to do a little thing for the kiddos. Very, very simple to be able to do that. Let's talk for a moment about the lighting of the candle. Is very, very simple. Now, in the Haggadah, Rav Bernstein, we see the mention of Shabbat and Yom Tov. Can you explain to our audience the difference between a Shabbat and Yom Tov and how they should approach that?
Okay, so Yom Tov is any moed, it's any festival of God that's not specifically Shabbat. Sometimes the first night of Pesach falls on Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that happens, when we're lighting the candles not only for the Yom Tov, for Pesach, but for Shabbat also. And so we have to include this in our blessing. So we say Shabbat v'Yom Tov when it's also Shabbat. And we say just Yom Tov when it's not Shabbat.
Exactly. Although the Moed is considered, it's like a form of a Shabbat.
Oh, yes, it is a Shabbat, but there's also Shabbat. So there's Shabbat, then there's Shabbat.
Exactly. So the way you would say it, for example, on Wednesday night is Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kidshanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Le'adlik Ner Shel Yom Tov. You will skip the Shabbat
because it's not Shabbat. And you can see in the Haggadah that it is very clearly translated and transliterated. So if your Hebrew is not very good yet, you're just fine.
Yeah, and Rav Bernstein, gotta understand English. So if you want to say, "Blessed are you, Adonai, our God," that is fine.
Do it in English.
Now, the C and the H, those who are brave, it's making a sound. Baruch, okay? And then we're going to conclude with this prayer called Shechianu. Rabbi Bernstein, can you give us a little bit about the Shechianu prayer so people understand why do we say that in this special time?
We say Shechianu for every special time, especially this one. But if we do, if it's Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, we say the Shechianu. If it's Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, we say the Shechianu. If it's Purim, when we were saved from Haman, we say the Shechianu. If it's Hanukkah, when we were saved from the Greeks, we say the Shechianu. If we are in a position where a group of us, when we come out of this plague, we're going to say the Shechianu. Okay? So this is the blessing of joy and of thanksgiving to God for all Israel at all times.
Beautiful. By the way, people ask where the recipes will be posted. Good news for all of you. On our website, pesach.shuvu.tv, starting tomorrow, you will see in the top the word recipes. And all the recipes will be right there for you, okay? So don't freak out. We will put them all on the website for you starting tomorrow, because us Jews love to eat, right, Rav Bernstein?
Got to.
The Seder meal is important. Now, when people see this, they get intimidated. Sometimes they get intimidated when they see this Seder plate. So I want to talk a little bit about those elements with you. The very first thing we want to talk about, let's see what we want to start with. Let's start with the Karpas. The Karpas is a good start. We use in our home for the Karpas parsley. What about you, Rav Bernstein?
Always parsley.
Actually, I'm going to make it easy on you. If you don't have parsley, anything green that grow from the ground is okay.
Sure.
Go to the neighbor, find some edible, put them on the table. It's your karpas. For chazeret, sometimes translated I think to English as horseradish. Yes, no. Chazeret, no. Not horseradish. Chazeret,
we use spring onions sometimes.
You put onions?
Yes.
What kind of green onions?
Yes, exactly.
We usually use horseradish for the maror.
Yeah, the maror. I'm sorry, I was. Yeah. But you can use also for the
romaine lettuce.
Romaine lettuce. That's what I was thinking. Romaine lettuce is very good for that. Romaine lettuce is very good for this. The eggs are cooked and you leave the peel. Cook the
Leave
egg,
them in the shell. In the shell.
leave them in the shell. The zroa is important. Rav Bernstein, what do you use in terms of the zroa? What do you guys
I have, that I keep in the freezer all year long, a very nice shank bone of a lamb.
Okay, that's going to be difficult for people to run and get shank bones right now.
But you can get a chicken leg.
That's exactly what most of Israel are doing.
What you do in preparation for the Seder is you take the chicken leg bone and you throw it in your toaster oven for a half hour, and it chars a little bit. That's all you need.
Wait a second, you're cheating. This is called the Pesach, Rabbi Bernstein. The number one questions people ask us, why are you not having lamb? Why are you talking to us about chicken?
Okay.
This is an important thing. I think this is the one question we get again and again and again. So perhaps you can give us some history behind this.
Absolutely. I have some distressing news.
Wait a second, you're cheating. This is called the Passover Rabbi Bernstein. The number.
Are we okay? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
The temple has been destroyed. When the temple was destroyed, we no longer can bring the temple offering. Okay? We can't bring the temple offering because we can only bring these sacrifices and offerings in the place that God will choose. And God chose Har Habayit. He chose the temple on the Temple Mount. That's it. He hasn't changed his mind. That's where we bring the offering. And so we can't do it now because the temple has been destroyed. Okay? So on the day of Pesach, in the afternoon, right, the head of every household would bring their Passover lamb to the temple.
You're talking when the temple stood?
Yeah, well, exactly where it was, where the western wall was the outside wall of that temple. So the head of every household would bring a lamb that has been living with us since today, since 4 days before, and we bring it in with the Kohanes. The Kohanes will go through the Shechita and do the sacrifice of the lamb. They'll do the tzrika and they'll sprinkle the blood on the altar. And then the meat was roasted and then put in a basket and given back to you. And this meat you bring home, and this meat is the Pesach. The word Pesach means this meat. Okay? And you eat it at the Passover Seder.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do this because we don't have the temple. And so symbolically, we have the zroa, the lamb shank bone, or the chicken bone, because it was roasted meat.
So it's a form of zikaron, a form of a memorial.
It's a memorial, it's a commemoration. Israel is worried that if we ate lamb, that we would think we were eating the Karban Pesach, which we can't do because the temple isn't there. So we're careful not to eat lamb. Okay? Mm-hmm. When we can offer the Karban Pesach, when the temple is rebuilt, it is one of my prayers to Hashem every year is that I'm alive when the temple is rebuilt and I can bring the Karban Pesach to the temple and have it roasted and have it on my Seder table for Pesach. This is a prayer.
People it's Haggadah. Can you explain?
The Haggadah. Okay.
Well, and the reason that they're asking, Rabbi, let me just give you a little background. Somebody asked a very good question. Why do we have an egg on the Seder plate? Doesn't that come from a pagan source? And I said, no, the egg represents the Haggadah. So can you explain that?
Sure, absolutely. And actually, the pagans got
By the way, all of this is in the commentary. All of the things you're telling you is the commentary. That's a beautiful thing. Go ahead, Rob.
So I'll tell you, but then download the Haggadah, and you can read it in the commentary and explain it at your own Seder table. Okay? Deuteronomy 16, I think, says that 3 times a year, all of the males of Israel will appear before Hashem. Don't appear empty-handed. Means bring an offering. So 3 times a year, the 3 festivals, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, right? Passover, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tabernacles, everybody would come to Jerusalem. All the men would be in Jerusalem. It was required. It was a sin not to be in Jerusalem all through those holidays. Okay? Now, all of the men are required to not come empty-handed, so they would all bring a sacrifice. The same sacrifice for each of the 3 festivals. So it's called the festival offering. In Hebrew, Haggadah. So the morning before.
By the way, the word Haggadah, people should know it's called celebration because it is a festival.
It's the festival. So before we brought the Korban Pesach in the afternoon, okay, in the morning before we brought the festival offering in the afternoon, every male of understanding, it says, okay, tractate Chagiga, it's old tractate in Talmud about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, every male of understanding, say about 6 years old, first grade, kindergarten, right, brought an offering, a goat or a lamb.
Right.
And this was sacrificed. Okay, and so to symbolize the Chagiga, the festival offering, and so that we know it's different than our commemoration of the Korban Pesach, we don't use a roasted animal, we use a roasted egg. And that's what the roasted egg is. And it's why it's important to stick it in the oven with your chicken bone to brown it a little bit so you know it's roasted. It's not just boiled.
Well, I tell you, the tradition I grew up with, and one of the beautiful things I put in the Haggadah is some of the masorot, the traditions. In our tradition, I remember my grandfather taking the egg, and he was reading. It was in Aramaic, but I remember Aramaic Hebrew. He mentioned the Jeremiah 31 about the promise that God will give us a new heart. And he says now, after he read it, he said, everybody take the egg in your hand, break it, and you receive a new heart. Which is another thing that is amazing. It's a promise of the fulfillment of this Geulah, where God promises a new covenant. That's why the egg was broken. And it says of Pharaoh, his heart was hardened. And then my grandfather, may his memory be blessed, said, our heart will not be like the heart of Pharaoh, because the Torah today is written as a new Torah on our heart today. Today we receive a new Torah. So that is the explanation that was in our tradition. So there is, of course, the Chagiga, which makes sense completely what you said. And I put in the commentary a lot of things that was passed down to me. So I hope that kind of things help people greatly to understand things.
And this tradition of using the egg is ancient, that goes back long before even Yeshua was there.
Oh, for sure.
So the important thing to understand is it's more probable that the pagans got the idea of the egg from us, not that we got it from them.
Isn't that amazing? That is absolutely amazing. Let's look at the Haggadah a little bit further. Obviously, we don't have time to go through the entire Haggadah, but one of the things I want to do, we call them the simanim, the signs. But you know what I like to call those signs? I call them the steps in the ladder that we are climbing up. Rabbi Bernstein, can you briefly take us through some of them? Maybe you take a couple, I'll take a couple. You want to start, and we will continue.
Sure. This is the outline of the Seder itself.
It's like an outline.
This is what you're going to go through step by step in the Seder itself. And by the way, these elements will be explained and talked about in the Seder as well as done.
Yeah, and you read it left, basically the left to right, basically we put it to you this way. So how does the Seder start? The number 4 is pretty important number in the Seder. We drink 4 cups of wine. We're talking about the 4 children. We ask the 4 questions, etc., etc. We started this with the Kadesh. What does that represent? What people should take in when they think about the Kadesh?
The Kadesh and the Kiddush.
Exactly.
What we're doing is we're blessing wine at the beginning of a festive celebration, right? So we take a sip of wine.
And
we drink a glass of wine.
And
nobody is driving anywhere this year. You can drink a glass of wine.
You can. The entire thing that I have done in this Haggadah, when you read it in the commentary, is I wanted to notice in the Kadesh, Yachats, in the Karpas, and even in the Yachats, when we break in this middle matzah, they have an element of returning us back, not just taking us to the future, but also returning us back to the garden. There is an element here. For example, when we do the blessing of the Karpas, as an example, and all of this is found in the commentary. But for example, when we do the Karpas and we say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Boreh Pri Ha'adama, blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the God. You read it in the commentary that the word Adama has come from the Hebrew word Adam. In essence, God desires throughout the story here to transform us back to the image of Adam, to be part of this ultimate tikkun. He's given us a chance to go back to the garden. We're seeing this here, and we put some beautiful and highly messianic commentary to you. We talk about, the karpas that made out of those two words. The karpas literally mean the pillow removal. Let me read you a little bit from the commentary. The word karpas is derived from the word karpas, which literally means the pillow removal. The term speaks about our comfort in this world that is commanded to put away during the time of Pesach. This idea that we're too comfortable and God removing those things. And Karpas is a picture of the Messiah. Later on, we take in the Karpas and we dip the Karpas twice, and the tradition teaches that as we dip it twice, it is as we ourselves being dipped in the blood, and we are cover ourselves in the blood of the Messiah, son of Joseph. So we're seeing these things. Pastor Matt, what are some of those things that kind of hit you when you look at those things in the Haggadah?
Well, exactly what you're saying, Rabbi, like the removal of the pillow. I mean, stuff like that, I had never seen before. And as I went through this afternoon, there were dozens and dozens of wonderful insights. I love the page that you have up there right now, because look how much of the actual Haggadah there is, and then look how much commentary on that page. It's really amazing. I actually had a very enjoyable time just reading through it and seeing all the amazing parallels, and especially for people from my background, for people from a Christian background, it's really going to be a joy for you to do it. And just to have a little fun with both of you rabbis, for those of us that come from a Protestant background, we have 4 cups of grape juice.
It works for us. It's all good. But the thing about this, why there is a commentary? Have you ever done a Seder in an Orthodox environment, for example?
Yeah.
The Seder is not done until 2 a.m. in the morning.
Whoa.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not joking with you. You know what's happening? Like, let's say we read about the Karpas, and he said to you, hold on a second, and the rabbi will run and bring a book in a commentary. You stop the Seder, you run, you get a book of the commentary, and then there's a long talk before we move. That's the way it was even in my family.
There's 2 or 3 entire Talmuds on the table before you're done.
Yes, but that is the beauty. This day, we are called to beautify the story of Exodus, to magnify it. And how do you beautify and magnify it? By studying Torah. By doing Torah, by bringing Devar Torah. That's what I'm excited about. Because you're going to read this and go, say, what? It's about Adam? Wait, when I dip it, it's really about Joseph? Oh my God, when I dip it twice, it is really about me being returning the clothes of Joseph and taking upon myself the clothes of Adam. Oh my God. And then on the center table, you can start have a lively conversation. It's not so dry anymore. The story come alive. And that is my prayer, that in this story, that of Pesach will come alive on your center table, and you don't just run through it like a bunch of robots. Think about this. Think about those things in a way that magnify the story. Rabbi Bernstein, do you agree with this?
Oh, absolutely. It's a Seder when I was growing up was a time of regulated chaos. There were children running around the room, not at a separate table. No. Children have to be everybody at the same table.
But it's a chaos.
It's chaos. And
it's awesome. It's
moms and sisters and brothers are all doing this. And a child will ask a question, and all of the learned men at the table will faint with love. A child asked a question. This is such a wonderful thing. And they make such a big deal out of it that all the children want to make a question after that.
I will not forget as a kid, they make you stand on the chair. In my tradition, they make me stand on the chair and look at everybody. And my mother, may her memory be blessed, put on me a shirt with buttons. And I was allergic to buttons. And I remember this thing saying the man ishtana, like this with the button shirt. It was miserable. It was a miserable wearing a shirt with buttons. But the point of this, it's a big thing. Make it a big thing in your family. Enjoy, not in
Yes, and it's not solemn at all.
Yeah.
Don't worry about doing something wrong.
Yeah. People think you have to go. And the
do
Lord,
it with joy. Do the best you can and do it with joy.
People think you have to go like this. And the Lord said, this is not a Seder. We are living together Egypt. It has to be exciting. It has to be the Devar Torah. That's why I encourage you to read the commentary before. Think about this. Bring it to the table. If you do a Zoom call with people, say, hey, stop for a moment. Let me tell you what this means. What I see is, so there is a magnification of this story. This is really about.
And if the discussion gets too big, somebody starts singing a song, and everybody will sing the song.
There you go. This is amazing, guys. I'm praying that this going all the Torah. Look at this. Look at those pages. Look at what it says, guys. We are dipping the Karpas as a memorial to the garment of colors that our father Jacob gave to Joseph, that caused the fall of our fathers to Egypt. Therefore, the first dipping of the Karpas does not represent the mortar, but it represents the garment of many colors. I want everybody to think about this. Matt, Pastor McKeown, we, in essence, when we celebrate the Pesach, we are returning Joseph to Jacob. What do you understand as a pastor from that? Well, this is not written by a Christian. That's by a great Orthodox rabbi in a book of halachot on a matzot.
It's so interesting that you bring that up, Rabbi, because not only do we talk about, returning Joseph, but as well as I do, there have been Jewish rabbis that have made the statement that the reason that Yeshua was handed over to be crucified is because of the selling of Joseph.
No doubt.
There's some amazing commentaries on this, and you've even done teachings where you compare the multicolored coat of Joseph, the stripes on the coat of Joseph, to the stripes on the back of the Messiah, his wounds. There's been so much deep teaching, and we need it.
It's all pointing to the Messiah. And this is what I want the people to understand. In essence, what they say here, that's why, you talk about Chamutz and Chametz. I never connected it, that in our tradition, Rabbi Bernstein, did you guys used to do salt water probably, right?
Oh, yes, sure.
Yeah, you're
but
not
sometimes vinegar. Sometimes
okay,
vinegar.
there you go. You're not perfect. You're Ashkenazim. That's why. But in the Sephardim tradition, we always did vinegar. What is the word vinegar? Chametz. The word of Isaiah 63. What, Pastor Matt, what you talk about? And in essence, it is as we take ourselves and we dip ourselves in this. It's like you dip yourself in the blood. You are covering yourself in the blood of Messiah. It's shocking. And I want people to get this, internalize it. I believe this is going to be a supernatural Passover Seder for people. I really do. I can't wait for this. Let's continue with our Seder for a moment. This is exciting, and I hope people will get very, very excited about what's coming ahead. So, Rob Bernstein, let's talk for a moment about this. You had a wonderful, wonderful commentary here, also on the Yachats. And you will notice Rabbi Bernstein, Rabbi Shapira, we're going kind of back and forward, the Yachats. So we have this middle matzah that we're breaking to something that is called Afikomen. Can you explain this to us a little bit?
Yeah. You've got the plate with 3 matzahs on it, right? In a matzah cover, that's especially for Pesach, or just 3 matzahs on a plate. If you're don't have these things and haven't done this before, it's fine. So the 3 matzahs can represent all kinds of different things. This is another wonderful thing about Judaism. As you study Midrash, you keep finding where someone says, this means this. Davar acher, which means another idea. And it means this. Davar acher. And it means this. Davar acher. And it doesn't have to be one answer. There can be many answers. And so when you ask, what do the 3 matzahs represent? Well, they represent different things. One of the things it represents is Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, the 3 groups of Israel. The Kohens, the priests, the Levites, and the rest of the Jews, like me, Israel, right? Rabbi Shapira is a Levi. Okay? So these are the 3, and all 3 together make up Israel. Another thing it could represent is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Okay? So the tradition is that you take the middle matzah and you break it in half. Okay? Half of it you put back in to the matzah cover. The other half you set aside for the last thing that you're going to eat at the meal, which is in Greek called the Afikomen. And I have a bag that we had to put the Afikomen in.
So, Rabbi, the people who do not have a fancy schmancy bag like yours,
wrap it in a napkin.
There you go.
If it's a paper napkin, you wrap it in a paper napkin. Again, remember that people that I know have held the Seder on the back of a tank. Okay? On a paper plate on the back of a tank. At the end of the day, beautifying the mitzvah is wonderful. But you do it whether you can make it beautiful or not. So it's more important to do it than to not do it. And if you can make it beautiful, do.
Yeah, I want to add to this. When you cut the matzah, the middle matzah, do not cut it exactly even. Some people try to be very artistic and cut it right in the middle. Don't.
You're kidding.
One piece is bigger and one piece is smaller. Did you guys?
I've been to 60 Seders in my life, and I have never seen a piece of matzah broken evenly, ever.
Exactly. That, in our tradition, Rabbi Bernstein, what we do, it's very interesting tradition that we were growing up with, is one tradition is that the Afikomen is being actually hidden. Okay, hidden and afterwards found.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one tradition. But there's another tradition that the Afikomen Listen to this. This is amazing. And I talk about this in the commentary. They take the Afikomen and they tie it. They tie it to a child. And everybody try to steal it from the kiddo.
Ah,
And the kiddo does not let anybody steal it.
in Florida, we call this tackle the man with the ball.
Something like that. And the reason is because the kiddo have a job. This year, I don't think we can do it because of social distances. But you know what is the tradition? So think about how Messianic it is to go outside to your neighbor at the end and to say, Manavu aleharim, ragleim evaser. Oh, how wonderful are the feet. How the one who bring good news. The one who have this. Exactly. The one who have the Afikomen. The one who have bring the Mashiach to the world. This is Messianic. How Messianic is the Afikomen is?
It is probably the most prominent Messianic symbol in the Seder.
Without a doubt.
Well, and if I could interrupt you.
Right, you want to add something, Pastor Matt? Go ahead.
The first Passover Seder that I ever went to was at the home of a conservative Jewish couple. They were not believers. They were not Messianic. And as I'm witnessing this for the first time of the 3 matzot and breaking the middle one or whatever, and the head of the household asked me, he said, there are many interpretations about, like you said, the priests, the Levites, and the rest of Israel. He mentioned one opinion is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the middle one is broken because Isaac was willing to be broken, i.e. to be sacrificed, even though he didn't have to go through with that. And so he asked me, and here I am before I really delved into really learning a lot of Messianic Judaism. And he said, for you as a Christian and a pastor, what does this look like to you? And of course, to me, coming from a Christian background, to me, it was a Father, Son, and Holy Spirit thing, the Son being broken. But this conservative Jewish couple, they hid that piece of matzah, but they didn't call it hiding it. They said, now we wrap it and we bury it. They said, we wrap it like Jews would wrap a body and we bury it. And that blew my mind. And then when they went to go get it, in their tradition, when they went to go get it, they had secretly hidden it. And so we went to go get it and it was gone. It wasn't buried anymore. And I thought, well, of course it's not. He's risen.
There you go. There's another principle involved here that is very, very, very important. I can't overstate it. And that is that this is a fun time for the children.
Yes.
Because when you hide the Afikomen, okay, so the children go and try to find it. They'll go and search. But the idea is that this whole Seder is supposed to be something that is a lot of fun for the children. Children should be looking forward to the Seder all year. That was
our big event. It wasn't above Rosh Hashanah.
It is the time where we explain to the children. That's why we're having the Seder, is because of the Torah command. When your children ask, this is what you do, and you explain the entire process of the Exodus from Egypt. So it really centers around the children. They should be having fun.
Without a doubt. And, we're talking about the other piece we're taking for, we actually lift up all the matzahs and we sing this highly Messianic song called the bread of afflictions in English, that start with this word, alachma aniyah. This is a principle that is actually found in the New Testament. People don't realize that. That's found in the book of Yohanan, in John, in the New Testament. It's this principle that we call in Hebrew pikadon or deposit, that it says, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another comforting counselor like me. This is this entire concept of the pikadon, that is taking place, and it's interesting that we are doing this, because in some tradition, like in my tradition, when we sing the song Alach Ma'aniya, when I was growing up, Rabbi Bernstein, they took the entire matzah bucket, and people, they were doing like a kaparot. They were shaking the basket with the matzahs over our head, like a representation of the blood that is cover us in this thing. It's in the bread of the affliction. It's mind-boggling. And of course, I'm thinking about the word of Yeshua, who can come to me who is thirsty and hungry for free. That is the Lachma Aniyah. The name Ani speak about the Mashiach. Again, we do things in his memorial, right? Take my body, he says. What does that mean? That's the Lachma Aniyah. What is the word Ani? Ani is from the word Pur. In Zechariah chapter 9, he's called the Oni. He is the one who is called Ani, lowly, riding upon the donkey. It's a representation of the Mashiach. And that's, Pastor Matt, we see it in everything. The Messiah, everything points to the Messiah. How clear is it to you in this entire Seder?
It's 100% clear. And if you're a Christian and you've never gone through the Passover, I'll go out on a limb and say that even though it's a joyous time, you might shed a tear or two just at the connections that you make going through it. We did, my wife and I, at this couple's home, the first time we did it. And we, for many years, did a Passover Seder at our church. But I will tell you, we purposely don't anymore because we are so involved in our local Messianic synagogue. We don't want to do anything that tries to duplicate what they are doing. And especially for someone like me that does not come from a Jewish background, if I had a choice of putting on a Passover Seder myself or going to a Messianic synagogue where there is a Messianic Jewish rabbi and being a part of what they do, that's what I want to do. Because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to learn from the source. I'm supposed to learn from the Jewish people. And so instead of doing it on our own thing, we partner with the local Messianic synagogue and we go be a part of what they do.
Right now, though, people cannot do that part of anybody does.
No, you have to do it in your homes. But this is interesting. Is this the first Passover since the original that everyone has to stay in their homes?
Potentially.
No.
Well, I mean, in the modern era, for sure.
No, unfortunately not. There are many, many stories about Passover in the Warsaw Ghetto.
Okay.
So during times of distress, it's one of the signs of a time of distress that we have to be isolated in our homes.
Yeah, but no doubt. Friends, we are just giving you just a small, and I want to stress, this is just a small glimpse. Rabbi Bernstein, after those Alachmania, we get into the meat of the Haggadah. It's called the Maggid, the storytelling, the telling of the story. I'll tell you how we used to do it or how we're still doing it in our family, but I'll give you a step first. How do you make this piece lively in your family?
The Maggid was something that that's where the core of the old men's discussions occurred.
Right.
This is where we started. And for me, I was always sitting between learned men, and I was always getting the elbow. Pay attention to this. This is Mishnah. Oh, this is good. This is Gemara. Watch, he's going to lose this argument.
Yeah, for sure.
So this was, and I was always slipped things to eat. Okay, and the children at the Seders I grew up in, they're always given sort of under the table, right? Because we're going through the Haggadah, and it's quite a while. It's an hour or maybe more before you actually.
I believe you can do this. I believe you can do the Seder in 2 hours. I really do.
I'm sure you can.
A fully good Seder, but in my case, it's a sin. If you do,
yeah. So give the children something to eat.
Yeah, don't rush to the thing. Experience it.
So usually during the Maggid, that's when I was given something to eat. So I remember eating during the Maggid.
Usually when it's get to the Shulchan Aruch, things start to fall apart in most family. When the food, to be honest with you, don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. Here's what one of the things that I recommend you do. Take turn reading. Everybody have to experience as he live in Egypt today. So please take turns reading around the table. If you do it in a Zoom call, you read a paragraph, another person read a paragraph, just kind of go around and read the story, which lead us kind of to the 4 questions and to the second cup. One of the beautiful, again, Sephardic tradition that we love to do in our family is to put a bucket for the plagues, and you take your pinky and you dip and you recite those plagues, and then you take a little bit of the cup and you pour it to the bucket, and then in our tradition, in the Iraqi tradition, you go to your neighbor and you pour it on the neighbor grass, and so the plague would leave yours. I'm kidding. Don't put it on your neighbors. Take it outside.
For the 4 questions, when I was a child, and again, we had the old men when I was a child were born in the 1800s, and many of them had come from Europe. Some were Holocaust survivors. So when I was taught Yiddish too, and to start, we didn't include it in the Haggadah because it's just an Ashkenazi tradition. But in starting the 4 questions, I was taught to start in Yiddish. Papa, ich will dich fragen, die 4 Kashes. Father, it's time for me to ask the 4 questions.
Wow. Amazing that you still remember it. I don't remember any.
When you're that young, you can't forget.
Look, the entire Haggadah is available. If you want to break your teeth and do it in Hebrew, do it in Hebrew. If you want to do it in English, do it in English. Rabbi Bernstein, this is straightforward. And if people just read the commentary to go along with this thing, it's going to be such a meaningful experience for everybody. Obviously, there's a festive meal. Let's talk for a moment about a meal. What do you guys serve in your main meal in Pesach?
We usually serve turkey.
Turkey is good.
Or we make a big tzimmus with beef brisket and sweet potatoes and carrots.
Brisket is wonderful. If you follow the Sephardic tradition, it's permissible to eat rice and niot, the different type of beans. We are following. I personally follow this, so I have more to eat. Potatoes, rice, salads. Obviously, dairy and meat you're not mixing. There's going to be some.
We would break up matzah and make stuffing out of it.
Oh, that's nice. Matzah stuffing. Hey, listen. If Rabbi Zinroni have some cool ideas, maybe she can write 1 or 2 for the recipe section.
We haven't talked about Charoset, but
yes,
I have to defer to the Sephardim as far as wonderful Charoset is concerned. Yes. My family started making Sephardi Charoset even when I was young, because of what was going on in Israel. And so we continue that even until today.
You want to explain to people what is a Charoset very simply?
The Charoset is one of the elements on the Seder Plate, and it is a mixture of sweetened fruits and spices and nuts. And it is meant to resemble mortar or concrete,
exactly,
and the hard labor that the Jewish people had to do in Egypt. And it is used to cut the bitterness of the horseradish so even children could eat some.
That's right. It's
like
it's a sweet chutney.
It's a chutney.
It's a sweet
It's
chutney again.
typically apples and walnuts,
Apple, walnut,
wine, cinnamon, some honey.
lots of wine to make it.
That's how Ashkenazim usually do. The Sephardi recipe that I do, I usually have some dried dates and some dried figs left over from Tu B'Shvat, and we blend those together with a little rose water and some cardamom, and pistachios are good, or walnuts, and to make a paste. It looks like concrete.
You throw what you have again in the website. If you missed it, friends, here you go. I'm going to give you this information one more time. PesachShuvu.tv. Tomorrow, you're going to have in the top recipes. You'll have a bunch of recipes there. I'm going to ask the rabbis to throw a few things together for you to help you out, okay? It will be there for you tomorrow, starting tomorrow. Also, I want to remind you, this is a huge thing that is put together. Friends, we need to raise some significant funds to be able to do those kind of things. I hope and pray that the body of Messiah will be appreciative and support this monetarily, because this is going to 5 languages. And believe me when I tell you that if we were to solve this thing, right now we raise only $15,000. It seems like a lot, but remember that it takes a lot of work for a lot of people to put this together. A lot of work. It's not even cover the cost of what we put into this at this point. So we really need you today to step up big time, so we will be able to get more of this out. And as we're speaking, we got 100 more applications downloaded. The Haggahs, 100 more Haggahs downloaded. So guys, go download it. Get your friends, your family to also download it. Guys, I want to take some questions because there are just so many questions for Pesach. So friends, if you are watching us right now, this is the time you're waiting for. We're going to take your questions, Facebook, YouTube. Please start to type your questions right now, and we will be able to answer this. And remember, there's not one right tradition. You do the things, you read the Haggadah, some things Rabbi Bernstein will do, and I said, Dale, that's funny. Well, that's his minhag, and I'll do certain things. At the end of the day, it's all pointing to the Mashiach. It's all pointing to Messiah. So will be, okay, let's go. First question is from Daniela. How should I observe Pesach when I'm alone in my home? No one will be able to come over. No, can I go to anybody else's house? Wow, that's a tough one. Rav Bernstein, you have thoughts about that one?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of things that you can do, okay? If you're lonely, call someone on the phone and talk to them, okay? Don't do everything. Do what you can to not be lonely. As far as the Seder itself is concerned, you can go through the Haggadah by yourself. This is something you can do.
You can do that. Yeah.
And it's not a problem. You are not the first person in the last 3,500 years that has been in a position that has to do a Passover Seder.
Actually, I have a very better, those who are in the yeshiva, there's a lot of people in the yeshiva that gather together and they are going to join together to do a online virtual Pesach Zoom Seder the first night. The second night, we're going to broadcast a Seder to the world that everybody will be able to watch. It's a children's Seder. But the first night, hey, we got you covered. Danny,
yeah, do with the shuvu.
Join everybody. Let me say, yeah, Rabbi Itzhak Shapira said that Rabbi Shapira license. Yes, second night for children and adult. Again, I'm saying children first because this is about children first and foremost. Okay. About the children, okay? So those who wants to be joining for the first night, no problem. There will be a Zoom, okay? Available. Let me see if what if we don't have children in our home? Then
Well, don't make children just for the Seder. But if you don't have children, you don't have children. But you don't. I'll give you an example. Rebitz and Roni and I are doing our Seder here. I am the youngest, so I have to ask the 4 questions.
Yeah. Actually,
and she's laughing at me in the background.
Yeah. What we do there are no kids, you let the youngest person ask the questions. Whoever the youngest in the room, that's the general rule of thumb. Let's go to Candice McCullough. I hope I say your name right. I'm a nurse and I'm working a lot. What should I do with the Chametz and haven't had time off to clean my house? Hey, you are involved in much more important things right now. It's very, very simple. Candice, don't kill yourself.
If you don't have time to properly clean your house, then do it symbolically.
That's what I was about.
Take some crumbs in the paper and roll up the paper and in the morning burn it.
And I would say, Candice, the other thing you can do is you say, I dedicate one room in the house to be Chametz free, and you're going after one room in your house.
Clean as much as you can, and then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Clean as much as you can, right?
Okay, Rabbi Bernstein, why is the Passover, remember, on the date of April 8, which is the 15th of Nisan? Doesn't it say the 14th of Nisan?
Aha. There is a lot of confusion because we call the festival Pesach. We've always called the festival Pesach. Now, what the Pesach means, really, is the offering, the Karban Pesach, the lamb that is sacrificed on the 14th of Nisan. Now, technically, the festival of Matzah, Chag HaMatzot, begins after the lamb has been sacrificed for Pesach, for the Pesach, okay? So you sacrifice the lamb, you bring the meat home, the sun sets, now it's a new day. Now it's the 15th, and that's when your Seder takes place, and you eat the Karban Pesach. Okay? That's why. The festival of Pesach really begins with the Seder on the 15th of Nisan. The only thing that takes place before that, on the 14th of Nisan, is the sacrifice itself, which you don't eat until the 15th anyway. Exactly.
Let's go to the next question. Do we eat the 2.5 matzot left? Matzot left the bag? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, sure. When you do the Yachats, right?
You're talking about the Yachats.
Yachats. And those others? Yes.
Of course. You use them with the Charoset, you use them with the maror, you use them in your meal. Absolutely. 100%.
Right. Yes. There is no ritual or ceremony in eating them. Only the Afikomen has the ceremony involved with it. So the rest of it you can just eat.
If you have questions, friends, right now we're going to take your questions. This is a good time to ask us any question that is on your mind or in your heart about the Passover Seder. I read a lot of comments and so forth. So this is very, very good. If you have questions about anything, to have a wonderful, meaningful Pesach, this is the time. Just typing in on Facebook and YouTube. I see that we do have a lot of people on the chat. If there are no questions, it means that we're doing a great job. But I have a hard time believing that there are no questions. Yes, so if you have questions, please do it. But again, guys, we are right now. Okay, here you go. Let's go to Serelin. I hope my mom is coming.
Korea.
Yeah, to celebrate with, but she knows almost nothing. She does not speak English. I need to lead and translate everything to her. My father's about coming as well. Both are not Messianic, yet I have to lead. Is there a problem? I would say, no, there is not a problem. I say it's a wonderful.
What language does she speak?
I'm not sure.
I'm asking Celine if she could type in.
If you can tell us, because the Haggadah is available in Spanish too. So it's depending what language. Yes. So if you don't mind, just type to us what type of question. But I would say just go slowly with them.
And also, I would suggest when she says they're not Messianic, I'm curious, does that mean that they're Jewish or that they're Christians? If they're Christians, I think the easiest thing to do to take a Christian, especially a family member, through the Passover is just to say, we're going to recreate the Last Supper.
Yeah. Yeah. For Christians, and just give her the highlight. Look, guys, we gave you the full thing. But if you feel, hey, I cannot do it, it's too long, it's too much, do what you can.
Do so. In the Haggadah, what is this? This is on page 32. It says, the simple son asks, what is this? And to him, you're going to explain everything. Right? You shall tell him with a strong hand, God brought us out of Egypt from the house of bondage. So the idea is that even if somebody doesn't know a lot, you break it down so it's simple and they can understand it. That's all. Go slowly.
Go slowly with them and do as much as they can handle. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Iris, you're going to.
Can I pretend to be a rabbi? Rabbis?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to do a famous rabbinic yes and no. Our brother Yosef says, was the Last Supper a Pesach? Well, yes and no. I think what you mean is, was it a Seder? And yes and no. It was not an actual Passover Seder because Yeshua died on Passover.
Right.
This was done the night before. So it was not an actual Seder. And this is why we know they didn't have meat. They didn't have lamb, because the Passover sacrifice, the Korban Pesach, had not been offered yet. This was a wonderful teaching opportunity. This was a teaching Seder. It was a way for him to give a special significance, especially when he says things like, this is my body and this is my blood. So one of the things that's brought down in the commentary that I read today that I was fascinated by, I think it was something that Rabbi Bernstein brought up, is that when he takes the matzah and he says, this is my body, it's not just that the symbol is this matzah is the sign of my body, but usually when you passed around the matzah at the actual Passover, when the temple stood, you had part of the lamb on it. But they didn't have the lamb that night because the sacrifice had not been yet made.
Right.
So it was a remembrance.
Right.
And so the same is it today. Yes. In the comments. Yes, it was a teaching Seder. We absolutely believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a rehearsal.
Yeah.
Let's go to Lori. Lori is asking us, hi, Lori. What if my husband is unbeliever, object to removal level items, etc., Messianic convert 10 years now, but it's very difficult? First of all, I want to say to you, Lori, first of all, that my heart goes to you, because I know that you have a conviction, and this conviction are not met by the physical head of your family. So I would say this to you. It is more important to have shalom bayit, for you, a peace in your home, than to fulfill a mitzvah, because you don't fulfill a mitzvah by breaking a mitzvah. Okay? It's actually said on Chava, on Eve, she was Ezer kenegdo. She was a helper to Adam. That's a shalom bayit. That's a picture of shalom bayit. So I would say to you to do this. Have the conviction, do the Seder, and do it in a way that your husband can join the Seder table. The entire important story that we read in the Haggadah that I brought down in the commentary is a story of the 4 sons who come together. The wise, the wicked, the tamim, the innocent, and the one who doesn't know how to ask anything. And then there is also a hidden son, a 5th son as well, who is representing the Messiah and the nations who are returning to Israel. It's amazing commentary. But, you know, the question asked, what is the significance of those 4 sons? Think about it. In Sukkot, we hold 4 species. In Pesach, we're talking about 4 sons. This represented all of Israel. the wholeness. Pesach should be a time of wholeness in your home. So I would say to you, it is more important for you to have wholeness in your home than fight over the nitty-gritty of, although an important mitzvah, but this is not the heart. The heart is, you know what will be a success? That your husband sit on a Seder table and he take a matzah, even if he's not agreeing. The fact that he is like the wicked son, he's on the table and he's there. That's how the Geulah will come. And my prayer to you, Lori, that as you come to the Seder table, even if it's not exactly perfect, he will become like this wise son, and your marriage will be restored. That's my prayer. Rabbi Bernstein, you want to add anything?
Just that you know that printing out this Haggadah and beating him in the head with it will not help the situation.
Well, yeah, it is a short.
So what you want to do is you want to make it comfortable for your husband to partake.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you want to make it comfortable for you to do as much as the mitzvah as you can.
Exactly.
And you don't want to push it beyond that because it is counterproductive, as Rabbi Shapira says.
Shalom Bait. Focus on that and then pray that he will be one of those 4 sons who come to the table. He will, with God will. Carlos Gomez asked us from DFW, can I do the 4 cups with a grape juice? 100% yes. However, here is when it's become tricky. We didn't talk about this, but not all grape juices are kosher.
Oh, well, that's too. Yeah.
So here is the rule of thumb. If you look at the back and it says the little P around the U, when the kosher to Pesach, there's this brand called Kedem. It's the really well known. I think all of the grape juice is kosher to Pesach. But I repeat, Carlos, what we said before. If it's between you doing kasher le Pesach grape juice or going to the store and risking yourself for wine or for juice you already have in the home, I say use what you got at home already. Don't risk yourself for the kasher le Pesach sign. I wouldn't.
There's reasons for actually using wine instead of grape juice. Okay, so using wine is preferable.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you have a reason that you don't want to use wine, then by all means use grape juice.
Yes.
Yeah, and like for my reason, in my particular family, I come from a church tradition that our denomination was founded by a German Reform pastor and a Mennonite. So the Mennonite side of our church founding, they're teetotalers. And so in my growing up tradition, there would be nobody in my family that would ever even have a drink socially. I mean, not even a sip. I mean, it wasn't until I was well into my adult years that I was ever at a wedding that didn't have sparkling cider or sparkling grape juice, because it was just that we had a thing in our church discipline that we willingly fasted from alcohol and tobacco products. And so that was just a kind of a willing fast that we did. So as a part of my culture, nobody in my family ever had a beer, wine, anything like that. And so for me, it would be an issue of conscience to do that. Now, obviously, there are some times when I'm with Rabbi Shapira and, we're doing the Kaddish or, doing something and or the Kiddush and people are passing out wine, and for the kids, they have grape juice. And if I can get grape juice, I do. There have been times where it wasn't available.
I'll tell you a story. I hope I won't put Pastor Matt on the spot when I tell him the story.
Please.
We were in Jerusalem, and there's a place that you can go and draw water from the well that actually is underneath Temple Mount. So I brought Pastor Matt to this ultra-Orthodox rabbi, and he was reading this verse from the drawing water of the well of salvation. The guy got so excited, the rabbi, he go like that. 3 cups of wine now, L'chaim. And Pastor Matt is coming and telling me, what do I do? What do I do? I don't drink wine. What do I do? I said, close your nose, open your mouth, drink it, and smile real big. So that's something that you cannot avoid because somebody does something before you. But in reality is, look, if you have conviction about juice, grape juice, like I don't have a problem with wine.
For instance, okay, there's a fairly good chance that somebody's going to have a former alcoholic at their table.
That's true too.
For Seder, by all means, encourage them not to drink the wine.
Yeah.
Right. And what's cool is that it's good that we have the grace to say, if our tradition is grape juice and not wine, we can do that. But neither do I have any problem with either of you doing wine at Passover. I mean, if that's your tradition, I think you'd be wrong to not do it, But for me,
I remember being 3 years old. I was given a glass with a little wine in it and about twice as much water, and that's what we drank.
I do. I remember to start doing it when I was 8 days old.
That's how in my family, we're from the south of the United States, and that's what we do with coffee when our kids are 2 or 3 years old. A little bit of coffee, a lot of milk.
So coming back to the lady before Celine, I'm so sorry. We ran out of time in getting the Haggadah in Portuguese. If your parents can understand Spanish, perhaps you can do it so you can download it in Spanish at least. I know it's not Portuguese, but maybe they can understand some of it.
But by next Pesach, we'll have it in Portuguese.
Yeah, God willing, God willing. Yosef asking, was the Last Supper a Pesach?
We actually addressed him directly a little while ago.
The answer, it was a rehearsal. This is one of the biggest mistake people are making when they celebrate the Pesach. Is circumcision required for the Pesach?
Circumcision is required for eating the Pesach. Remember that the Pesach
is
the sacrifice.
Right.
It is nobody is eating the Pesach.
It's crazy that
you don't have to worry about
that people are writing me right now that the people cannot celebrate Pesach with them because they are uncircumcised.
That's not true.
It's not true.
Well, but here's the problem, Rabbi.
They can't eat the sacrifice. Nobody is eating the sacrifice.
But here's the problem. There are some so-called Messianic groups and Hebrew roots groups that have lamb for their Passover meal.
It's not the sacrifice.
Right, exactly. But that's how they get around this. They try to do some sort of loophole, but it's not the Korban Pesach.
No,
it's
and that's why we don't have lamb, right?
Yeah, it's not.
Right. So understand the Pesach, the festival, is not the same as Pesach, the sacrifice. Okay?
Yeah.
In Torah, Pesach, the festival, is called Chag HaMatzot.
Yeah, Rosie, this is the same question that you asked, and I hope we gave you the answer. Circumcision is not a requirement for the Pesach.
And not just that. Let's be very clear, especially to our friends that are watching that are Christians coming from a Gentile background. Circumcision is not required for non-Jews at all. Not just for Pesach, but for anything. If it was, then my goodness, we ought to take the book of Acts out of the Bible. I mean, that's what Acts 15 was all about. So yeah, no, not only not required for Passover, but not required at all if you're not ethnically Jewish.
Yeah, that is though disturbing for me.
Okay. Right. So there are several things that are all about the Pesach being the sacrifice. Pesach Sheni, people are asking about that too. The second Pesach has nothing to do with the festival.
Yeah.
It has to do with an opportunity to bring the sacrifice a second time if you missed it the first time. Well, nobody brought the sacrifice the first time. Nobody can bring it the second time. So it's really not relevant to our lives today. It doesn't mean celebrating the Moed a second time. No, that's not what it means.
And Rabbi, can you correct me if I'm wrong? Don't we learn from the sages of Israel that one of the reasons this question came up is because of the ritual contamination from a corpse, and that Chazal say that we think it may have been the people that were carrying the bones of Joseph?
Yes, that's one of the midrash. Yeah.
Let's go to Judy. I assume it's Judy Edwards, but I'm not sure. Would flour and yeast themselves be considered chametz? Would they have to be mixed with water?
No yeast.
No, yeast is
Flour and water.
Yeah,
No. She's asking about chametz.
Oh, okay.
What do we?
Yes. Yes.
Why do we look
Flour, if it's not made into matzah, is considered chametz.
100%? Now
Why? Because there's moisture in the air and
Right.
there's spontaneous leavening.
Right. For sure.
How about this one? Someone asked, is it wrong to have lamb at Passover just because you like to eat it? This goes back to Rabbi Bernstein's famous statement that I quote all the time, and that is, how do we do it? How do we as a Jewish community do something?
Pastor Matt, some Jews eat lamb. The rich Jews in Israel sometimes have lamb. There is not a problem in eating lamb. As long as you don't make the lamb, you think that this is.
So usually we don't eat lamb because we don't want anybody thinking it's the Korban Pesach. My suggestion is wait until the third night of Pesach, then eat lamb.
Yeah. Look, I was in Nigeria and I saw them sacrificing lamb. It was literally avodah zarah. Yeah, it was scary. Okay, we're going to Rosanna Zerefa. I don't understand the chicken leg. Oh, for the zroa. Do we roast it and you take the meat off? Yeah. What do? You eat, like, let's say you eat the chicken, right? You put it in hot boiling water and then you can clean it and you have basically your shank bone. That's all.
But then you roast the bone. You roast the bone without the meat on it, and try to be careful not to crack it.
You can even, if you do barbecue, let's say this week before, you have this bone left. This is already roasted. Just clean it at this point, and you're good. Yeah, for sure. We already answered this question. Is there a specific wine used during Pesach? Great question. If you do indeed use wine, try to use kosher for Pesach, because the process of fermentation that will make the wine not kosher for the Pesach. So if you use a wine that truly a red wine, although I got to tell you, I saw in some tradition they use also white wine.
Yeah,
they do use in some tradition white wine. Make sure it's kosher to Pesach more than anything else. Okay, let me go. Okay, this is again, can nurses work the first day of Pesach due to the outbreak? 100% yes.
Right, that's Avodat Kodesh.
Pikuach nefesh doche Shabbat. This work, what Kadisha does when a person dies on a Shabbat or somebody is sick on the Shabbat. Of course, 100% yes. Can we not eat meat? Absolutely, you can eat meat. But please understand that the entire thing that I talk about in the Haggadah, about Bria Adama, in the garden before Adam sinned, they ate only vegetable. So I would say that if you're eating vegetables, you're already one leg ahead of everybody else.
But there is the commemoration of the sacrifice itself. It does involve eating meat.
Yes, it does. So
if you're almost a vegetarian, then don't eat very much meat. Just eat a little bit, but eat a little bit of roasted meat to commemorate the sacrifice.
If you can, if it's a medical reason, don't.
Yes.
Yeah, we had somebody earlier, I think it was Jeff Blumenthal's wife, Sherry, that was saying that they do a roasted beet.
Oh, for vegetarian.
Okay. Yeah, well, for vegans. Yeah, roasted beet and an avocado instead of an egg.
Okay.
This is California.
I was going to say, that's very California, I think. But you have to have the avocado on a piece of toast.
Let's go to Rona May. When Yeshua said, "Do this in the remembrance of me," was talking about the memorial of Pesach. When the disciple went house to house, Burke, what did it mean?
Can I answer this one?
You want to
Yes.
take?
Yeah, this is a typical Christian misunderstanding of the phrase break bread.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I will say that Christians do as a memorial what they call Holy Communion. And that's been a Christian tradition for, almost 2,000 years. But I really believe that the initial context of this is my body, this is my blood, when Paul says, when you eat this bread and drink this cup, I firmly believe that he was referring to Passover, that he was referring to the matzah and the wine at the Seder. But when it says that they went from house to house breaking bread, it doesn't mean that they were doing Holy Communion. It simply means they were having a meal together. They were breaking bread. In Judaism, it's not really a meal unless you have lechem, unless you have bread. And so breaking bread in each other's homes, it's a tradition that Christians think it means taking Holy Communion. It just means they were eating a meal together.
Exactly. Let's go to Ozzy. Can you, Rabbi Bernstein, explain the Hillel sandwich, one of my favorite sandwiches?
Okay.
He has a commentary in the Haggadah about it.
I know.
Yes.
I know. It's wonderful.
Okay, so in the New Testament, it's frequently translated that they took the bread and that they dipped it in the sop. Who's dipping in the bowl with me is a reference to Yehuda, right? It was a reference to Judas. Now, there was no meat because the Passover sacrifice had not occurred yet, right? The Passover sacrifice occurred the next day, so there was no meat. There was no meat on the table. So there was no gravy. There was no sop. It wasn't there. So what are they dipping into? They're dipping into horseradish. Torah says, eat it with matzah and horseradish. So Rav Hillel said, okay, if Torah says eat it with matzah and horseradish, we're going to eat it with matzah and horseradish.
Rabbi Bernstein, you mentioned this name. Please understand, Yeshua was not born in a vacuum. These things have been there before Yeshua.
Right? So it's just verification that they were following the custom of the school of Hillel, which was there before Yeshua. And they dipped in the horseradish.
And Hillel, by the way, for our Christian brothers and sisters, Hillel is very important because his grandson is Rabban Gamliel the elder, Gamaliel, the teacher of the Apostle Paul.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right.
Who wouldn't let the Sanhedrin condemn Yeshua?
Right. Pretty cool.
Exactly. Friends, we're so thankful that in this broadcast we see so many people concurrently. There are between 150 to 200 people consistency. Would we not want to commemorate Nisan 14, followed by Torah Exodus 23:5, to honor the Shabbat on the 15th day of the Chag HaMatzot? I think you already answered that one, no, Rabbi Bernstein?
I'm not following the question. Sorry, I can't read. It's too small.
Would we not want to commemorate the Nisan 14, as Yeshua said, which he followed from the Torah of Exodus 23:5?
Well, I would love to commemorate on Nisan 14, but we don't have a temple. The only thing that took place on Nisan 14 was the Pesach sacrifice.
Exactly, and it's Exodus.
So if without a temple, we can't make the sacrifice, so we can't commemorate that.
Amen.
What the eating of the sacrifice was done on the 15th of Nisan.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you this, just to dovetail on that, Rav Bernstein, on the Kosher Pastor YouTube page, if you go there and scroll back, I have a wonderful lesson by Rav Bernstein that he did at our church called God's Great Barbecue, which is an explanation of the sacrificial system. And a lot of Christians just don't understand the sacrifices and what the purpose was. And if you haven't seen God's Great Barbecue, it's worth the watch.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to Elizabeth. What is the guy whose wife is not a believer to do? I told him to stay away from eating anything with leaven. I don't know if this is kosher. Look, I don't think people understand that shalom bait.
Yeah, I don't know that you should be telling your husband not to eat leaven if he's not into that, especially if you're not Jewish. This is a lifestyle that if you're not Jewish and you come into a Jewish identity, you need to be called into it.
Yeah.
You can't be forced into it.
Yeah. Ariel Ben Yaakov. Do you believe Gabriel knew who Yeshua was?
Yes.
Do you believe
we know that he knew Yeshua.
Do you believe the New Testament? Yeah, there is no way.
We also know that he did not necessarily believe that he was the Mashiach.
I think he was cautious, and
I think he was cautious, and he may well have thought maybe.
I actually think that the way he dealt with the disciples there in this case showed me that he showed them some favoritism.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure he was not against. That's what
exactly.
Yeah. He did not want to pass a punishment that was severe on them. That's for sure. Ministerio de Español. Can we eat lamb meat in Pesach? Please clarify. Can you? Yes. But you cannot call it the Korban Pesach. If you call it
in general, to avoid the problem, we don't.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of the fence laws in Judaism.
Why are you asking the question? We don't.
We don't do it. I mean, I don't recall. I mean, having
some Yemenites do. That's the only people I've ever seen.
Yeah. But look, don't call it Korban Pesach if you do.
Yeah, if anybody does, don't call it Korban Pesach. But basically, we don't do that.
And I know some people, rabbis, that one of the reasons that they don't eat lamb at Passover, even if they are believers, if they're Jewish believers, one of the reasons that people I know don't eat it is because lamb is one of the most popular things that Christians eat at Easter. And so they're making a distinction of, we're different. We're not celebrating that particular holiday. We're celebrating Passover.
Yeah, see, I'm Jewish. I thought that all Christians ate pig on Easter.
Well, that's the other popular thing, ham and ham and lamb. Basically, we're trying to set ourselves up to say we're not like those Jews.
Yeah, that's guys. I think we giving the people a lot. So let me recap it. If I see another one or two urgent questions, I'll put them on the screen, guys. This is last call for questions. If you have a question, I know that a lot of you want answers. So if you have more questions, just quickly type them and we'll try to take one or two more if you have them. But let me recap to you what is happening in case you missed out on this broadcast. We have launched to the world. Don't lose sight of the big picture. And here is the big picture. The nations are returning home.
Amen.
To fulfill a new Mount Sinai experience that is ahead of us. Whether or not it's going to happen in this 14th of Nisan, I don't know. I don't think so, because I think the fullness of the Gentiles still yet to come. But I really believe that you are living Egypt today. You are living Edom. You are putting on your doorpost the blood of the Messiah of Israel, and you make a covenant with the Messiah and all of Israel. What the covenant is, it's a corporal covenant that you're entering into. It's not a covenant that you have to do, it's one that you choose to do. And we issue an invitation to you. That's how this project was birthed. It was birthed out of love for our students. And then because of the COVID-19 virus, we launch day at night. Pesach Shuvu.tv was launched. In first 24 hours, I think we are, 1,300 downloads already in 70 countries. The uniqueness of this, as you saw here, you heard Rabbi Bernstein speak one way, I speak another way. For me personally, I can say that I took a lot of the future book of the Return of the Kosher Pig and embedded it there. That stuff is priceless. You're not going to find it in Rabbi Google. You're not going to find it in any seminary or any academy. It's stuff that passed from father to son. And now it is in written form for you to practice. Rabbi Bernstein also was raised in strong Jewish bringing, and he is overseeing the history department in the yeshiva and the theology department. So he put a lot of commentaries around those type of questions, 14 Nisan, 15 Nisan. And now all of those things are coming together for you in a miraculous way. This is a miracle, and I acknowledge as being a miracle, just as the story of Pesach is also a miracle. This project is a miracle, and each and every one of you, especially from the nations, who is even on the broadcast right now, is a miracle. It's absolutely a miracle that you are here, that you're starting a journey after 2,000 years back home. We launch it in English, Spanish, now, as you heard in the broadcast, in Italian. The best thing you can do, the greatest gift you can do for Hashem and for the world. God spoke to me, God is judging. But God is also listening right now. He is listening. And if we just turn our ways and come back, if we just do that, maybe Hashem can defer judgment upon this entire world. That's why I love what Rabbi Bernstein said. No pressure, but it's all up to us. That is the bottom line of this moment in history. That is the bottom line. It's up to us. What we're going to choose. I'm not going to say, are we choosing Easter or Pesach? I'm not making you choose anything. I'm telling you, will you come in to the wide open door that Avraham Avinu opened, Moses opened, the Torah is open, and ultimately Yeshua opened. You see, it says in the book of Ephesians chapter 2 that he broke the mechitza. What is the Yachats? The breaking of the matzah represent a fulfillment of Ephesians chapter 2. The Messiah has broken the barrier of hate. He has broken it. So now you can't come in to the Seder table. You can't sit on the Seder table. You are representing today the prodigal son. The Christianity, according to Judaism, represent the prodigal son. The son is returning. Yes, God have more than one son. Israel is his son, and the Goyim are also sons and daughters, if they choose to be sons and daughters. Our hope and our prayer that you will choose to be sons of Israel. You choose to be part of the Commonwealth House of Israel. That you will choose to partake of the Seder the way Israel does it. Not the way you do it, not the way you want to do it, the way that Israel does it. Because in that, the merit of your mitzvah is added to the merit of all of Israel. And how wonderful it is just today to think about it. That through you sitting at your family Seder, enjoying the story of not their people, but now your people, our people, you receive the heart of Ruth. You become like Ruth. You take upon yourself a new identity, a Jewish identity, a Messianic Jewish identity. This identity is without barriers, without locks. It is wide open for you. So the question is simple this evening for you. Will you come to the Seder table with the entire house of Israel? You know what? You might come, you might be messy, you might be dirty, you might not get it all, but you will be on the table. And Paul said that in this fullness of the Gentiles, let me call it for a moment, the fullness of the Seder table, there will be laughing and joy and happiness. Jews and Gentiles, one in Messiah again. under the banner of the house of Israel, the God of Israel, and Yeshua our Messiah. And in that, the Geulah come. In that, wholeness come, when the Seder table has been complete. We as Jews have failed to call the Gentiles for 2,000 years to come to the Seder table. This is a prophetic moment. We as an organizations in plural, because it's more than Ahavat Ami, calling you to come back to the table, to the Seder table. You will get it. You will join and enjoy and be part of this corporate salvation of the house of Israel. Rabbi Steve, I'll give you also your last word. That's in my heart. What is in your heart in conclusion?
For many people, this is a fresh beginning. Pesach is the season of renewal, the season of resurrection, the season of spring. It's the perfect timing to begin a new idea and a new path. Don't feel like you're the first person to ever do this. You're not. You're following in a long tradition of many, many people. Don't feel like you have to do everything all at once. And don't feel under any pressure to do something correctly or not correctly. Just do what you can. Begin the joy of learning. Come. You are invited to sit at wisdom's table. Come and eat and enjoy. This is one of the joys, if not the highest joy of life.
Amen.
This is how you can find joy, no matter, even if there is a plague of a virus.
Amen.
You can still find joy with you, friends that are distant, friends that are socially distant. You can find joy in studying and learning and following the God of Israel and his Messiah, Yeshua.
I love that, Rav Bernstein. The word joy, simcha, flip the letter, Mashiach. When you find joy, you find Messiah. Pastor McKeown, what's your last word for viewers this evening?
I completely agree with what Rabbi Bernstein said. I want to really encourage my Christian brothers and sisters to maybe do one or two things, to not bite off more than you can chew. The thing that I have really noticed is when Christians get excited about the Jewish roots of their faith, a lot of times there's this idea to want to sprint and do a whole bunch at once. I love the idea in Judaism of this year, we're going to do a little bit of this, and next year you'll do even better and even better. This is a marathon. We're going to, finish this race strong, and there's no need to try to do too much, because here's what I have found. Those of us that come to this from being invited to do it, since I don't have to do this because I'm not Jewish by blood, since I'm invited to participate, I don't have to do this out of a sense of duty. And because of that, I want to do this in joy. I don't want to do this like it's arduous. And what I have found is when Christians try to do too much at once, or try to go too fast, too quickly, in doing some Messianic stuff as a part of their practice, what happens is they get frustrated, they get bogged down, and they become legalistic. We have to remember that this is not an issue of salvation. Christianity tends to be salvation-centric. But from a Messianic Jewish perspective, we understand that our salvation is only the starting line of our race in life, not the finish line. And so whether we do these things or not has nothing to do with our salvation. That's an entirely separate issue. And we don't want to try to base our salvation on some sort of system like, well, I'm going to try to do this so that, so that God will save me. That's a complete misinterpretation of what the Jewish people do. So we need to make sure that we're not doing too much, so that we don't become weary in doing something good, as the New Testament says. Don't grow weary in well-doing. So do what you can. There's a grace in Judaism that is so beautiful, as Rabbi Bernstein said. If you don't have a decorative Seder plate, use a paper plate. If you don't have a matzah cover, use a paper napkin. Do whatever you can. As he said, he knows people that did this on the back of a tank. The whole point of this is remembering. The ancient rabbis of Israel say that we need to celebrate this as if we ourselves had been liberated at Passover, as if we ourselves were coming out of slavery in Egypt and going into the promised land. And so that is such a beautiful thing that we can do. We get to do this. We don't have to do it. So don't make it laborious. Make it a joy.
I want to put this comment on your screen from Brazil because this is the heart of what the Pesach is about. Listen to what our sister in Brazil wrote us. I'm very emotional. Love you, love Israel. How I want to go home, feel like among you. I find home. Always felt that I don't fit anywhere until I found Tzadok. And then we found you. I want to everybody to understand something. This is the spirit of the Seder. The spirit of the Seder is the spirit to bring all the children in. We call it, what is the Seder? It's a picture of the ingathering. It's a picture of the ingathering. Yeshua says, how I long to gather you like a hen who gather her chick, but you're unwilling. The reason we have not been gathered is because we've been unwilling. So look at this now. Tzadok ran our branch in Brazil. And through this connection, you have a connection with us here. This is the way the kingdom works. And that's why this entire publication is completely free. Because the kingdom of God is a kingdom of collaboration. And it's a kingdom without the beginning and without end. And those of you watching me right now, and you may be alone, you don't have a place to be in the Pesach, we're going to set up in Yeshivat Shuvu and open it to the world. I don't know how many we can fit. Maybe a couple of hundreds. People will do a virtual Zoom, even outside our yeshiva. So those who want to be in this, please contact Pastor Matt McKeown. Matt, don't worry, you're not going to be the organizer. Just you're going to pass it to the person that I'm going to assign. So that they will be able to be alone. Nobody will be alone. Everybody is coming to the table. We are gathered. So if you're watching us now and you say, I'm still lonely, I don't have a place to go for the Wednesday night, we will have a Zoom for you on Wednesday night so you can join in and be part of our extended family. Those who want to take the next step in learning the details, listen, guys, you're looking at this right now. Yeshivat Shuvu, among many other teachers, some scholars, are amazing. This is an amazing place to study, learn, and most importantly, be part of a family. There's a reason it's the largest Messianic yeshiva in the world. So visit us and become part of the yeshiva. www.shuvu.tv. It's a great place to be. This family is in every language, every tongue, every tribe, every color, all up to Jerusalem. Let's pray for everybody, Seder. I want to pray. Avinu Shebashamayim, Abba, we are thankful for this broadcast. We are thankful for the people who watch from Brazil, from the United States, from Europe, from Asia, from South America. Those who are with big families and small families, those who are alone, those who are struggling, those who are already figured it out. Wherever it is us who are called to the center table. Some of us are like the wise one. Some of us have been wicked. Some of us have been so disconnected, we don't even know what to ask. We all have a room. We all have a table. on Yeshua's Seder table. So Lord, I pray that thousands upon thousands this Wednesday night will add to the merit of the house of Israel. Not because they need it for their salvation, but because they want to join in one voice to tell your story, Adonai, and the future story of Messiah, our righteousness. So be with the people, Lord, who celebrate the Pesach, and release upon them great joy and great peace, and may no physical or spiritual corona will enter to their homes as the blood of our Messiah is put on the doorpost. Thank you, Lord. I ask that this Haggadah will reach many, many more, not for my name, not for Rabbi Bernstein's name, for the name of your Son, Yeshua, to be glorified and lifted up. Thank you, Lord. And I ask that this will be a supernatural week for all of us. We truly live in Egypt. Thank you for this departure. Let us leave at darkness to the light, to the day of Geulah quickly. Bring a personal Geulah to everybody watching us in marriages, in their finances, in their observance, in their religious ideology, in the way they practice the mitzvot, that will lead to the corporal Geulah, the fullness of the entire house of Israel. We ask all of those things in the merit of our Messiah. Amen and amen. Gentlemen, it's been awesome to have you here. I think everybody is so blessed by you. Pastor McKeown and Rabbi Bernstein, thank you. Friends, from me here at Yeshivat Shuvu Virtual Synagogue, every day during Pesach, there will be a shiur. Every day. There's going to be a series dealing with the end times called Ma Nishtana. How is this season different? Join us every day during the Pesach. Tuesday, and Thursday, we're broadcasting Shacharit. Thursday night will be a special night. We will do a children's Seder that will be open to the world with myself, my son Noach, Rabbi Itzhak Shapira. It will be fun time. We welcome you to join us. Go and download the Haggadah. Spread this link all throughout. It is free. It is free because the Messiah of Israel, he's the one who's gave us the greatest gift of all, a gift of knowing the Father. So as he gives us gifts, we give you the gifts. And as you receive the gifts, please consider to give during this time, mitzvah. Gdolah, it's a great mitzvah to give a tzedakah. Those who give this week, it is more important to give this week during this time than any other time. Thank you for Operation Geulah, and thank you for your offerings and gifts to this important global project. Those who watch us, Italy, we're praying for you now. It's Italy time. It's time for Italy now. Take center stage. The Haggadah is available for you. Share the link with your Italian family, friends, brothers, and sisters. Also, those who are Dutch and German, it is coming your way in the next 24 hours. So stay tuned for announcements in our respective Dutch pages and German pages online on Facebook. Those who ask about the recipes, etc., again, it's going to be in our page, pesachshuvu.tv. It's all going to be there for you tomorrow. So, ladies, run, print, and we'll do our very best to help you to have an amazing Pesach season. God bless you. Laila Tov. Thank you again for joining us for this special broadcast. Share it around, and God bless you. May it be a joyful season upon us and upon all of Israel as we are tipping not just the physical, but the spiritual corona from away from our midst in this time. My name is Rabbi Itzhak Shapira. God bless you, and we will see you later this week. Litraot.